Hey guys, Jared here. I haven't done a vlog in quite some time, and with the Street Fighter V beta hitting, well, I think it's tomorrow. Oh, I don't know if you can hear. Got police officers coming. They're coming for me. Yeah. So the Street Fighter V beta hits tomorrow. By the time you watch this, I have a feeling that the Street Fighter beta is most likely already going to be ongoing, or may even be over by the time you see this. But anyway, so it got me thinking that, you know, I'm going to be playing it. I'm actually going to do a video or two on the beta itself with some of my thoughts, impressions on the new systems and what have you. Now, I haven't played, well, played is a lie. I haven't really gotten into a fighter in years and years and years and years. I pretty much grew up in the arcades, and so played a ton of fighting games in the arcades. It was different back then. Steven always loves bugging me, saying like, "Ah, you're not into competitive scene at all." The thing was, back then it was like, it wasn't competitive in the sense, like, you know, ranked matches and all of this sort of stuff. It was like, it was just what you did. You were playing with another person. I love co-op, like beat 'em ups and stuff like that. Beat 'em ups and spaceship shooters and fighting games. I didn't ever look at it like it was you against someone. It was always like you with someone. You were playing with someone. Even though, yes, I know with fighting games you are one-on-one. I just never looked at it like that for some odd reason, because I was standing right next to the dude, you know. We'd be laughing and stuff, and I'd get my butt kicked, and I'd be like, how the hell did you pull that off? Whatever some move was. I don't know, it was much more community-based, and I still love the community aspect of all those types of games. So anyway, a buddy of mine has been talking so much about Street Fighter V that I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get into a fighter where I can play it at least once a week. We'll see. Just playing anything once a week is proving to be quite challenging. So that's basically the intro out of the way. So what I thought I would do right now is sort of like a beginner's guide to fighting games. And what do I mean by that? I mean, how do you actually get into a fighting game? And I wanted to give you, I got a couple of points, just wrote them up here, that I wanted to touch upon that can make you a better fighting game player, if you will. Now, the first thing I want to point out is I've always considered fighting games Japanese RPGs. Now, if you are a hardcore fighting game fan and you're gifted, this video isn't for you. But if you are a fighting game fan, what I'm going to talk about most likely is going to bring a lot of memories back to you. Or at least you're going to sit and go, wow, yeah, he's right. Or maybe you'll think I'm a raging alcoholic and I'm crazy. So the first thing, the reason why I say that a fighting game and a JRPG are pretty much, they're very similar. And here's why. Grinding. A JRPG, you start off, you're a little banum, you're a little guy, and you have to keep fighting monsters over and 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 over again to level up, to become stronger and stronger and stronger in order to progress through the game. Well, a fighting game has a very similar mechanic, and that is the actual combat system, the input move, the input commands. So I'm going to grab just like the first controller I had here. So you guys can see this, right? You've got your, where is it? Your D-pad down here, you've got your sticks, blah, blah, blah. So let's see if I can zoom, well, not zoom, but come into you guys. So if I wanted to do, say, like a quarter circle back, a quarter circle forward, I'm not going to show you move sets, but what I'm trying to get at here is fighting games all have various commands where you have to go. Let's see, what would this be? This would be forward, like that. Okay, so like if you wanted to do, say, a fireball forward with Ryu or Ken or whatever, it's down to forward and a punch button, okay? Now, the grinding aspect comes like this. Can you pull off that move in a training mode where you're just standing there and you're firing one fireball, another fireball, another fireball, another fireball, and can you do that like on command? Can you just do one fireball after another, after another, after another? A basic move just like that. And if the answer is no, like for example, if you watch a lot of my videos where I cover fighting games, you'll see that I'll pull off like, I love Ryu, he's like or Ryu. He's one of my favorite characters of all time in any fighting game. I love the character. So, like, you'll see me, I'll throw out a fireball, and then you'll see something like this, which is like a high punch, okay, or a fierce punch. And the reason why is the lack of practice. I have not sat down and actually played a fighting game for, you know, like say like 6 months straight. I haven't done that in years and years and years. So you'll constantly see stuff like that. I can do, say, like a dragon punch, okay? Like his big uppercut, if you don't know anything about fighting games, which is this video is sort of aimed at those people. So like with that, if you can't have him stand, let's say Ken, if you can get Ken to do a dragon punch, land, do a dragon punch, land, do another dragon punch, land. If you can do that, you're good for the next phase. If you can't, this is where the JRPG element is. You are that little guy. You need to grind to get to the point where you can pull off those moves one after another, after another, after another, consecutively without stress. Then, the next phase, once you can do some very, very basic moves like that, then you need to stress yourself. Because when you're playing against another living human being, it's going to be a little bit stressful, especially if people are watching or if you get easily aggravated or frustrated. It's really going to throw your game off. You're going to see it because all of a sudden you were cool. You were able to throw one fireball, let's say, after another, and then all of a sudden you're finding that you're doing the punch thing, the punch thing, the punch thing. Like, you're like, what the hell? What's going on here? That's what's happening. It's simply you're stressed out, so your commands are not exactly right. So that's the very, very, very first thing you need to do. And let me tell you something. This isn't going to take 5 minutes. This isn't going to take 10 minutes. This is going to take hours upon hours. And that is where another sort of similarity with the JRPG comes into play here. If you actually think fighting games are the type of games where you can just pick up and play, they are. They absolutely are. If you want to have a few people over to your house and just have fun, not take it serious, absolutely, go for it. Knock yourself out. I do that all the time. I play fighting games now just for the stupidity of you know, myself. Like, just having fun is all. But if you really want to start getting better at fighting games, you have to be in this for the long haul. And let me tell you, it's going to take hundreds of hours. I have a friend who plays Street Fighter 4, and that's pretty much all he plays. So he purchased the PlayStation 3, I'm not sure if it was PS3 or an Xbox 360, but whatever, just for Street Fighter 4, and he has logged in something like preposterous, like 2,000 hours or something crazy like that. There's a reason why this guy is so good at the game. It's because of this. He can, at a moment's notice, he can go into any super, any special, anything, and he can pull it off instantly. And that's what you need to be able to do, not advanced techniques. But if you want to get to a level where you're not just complete novice noob type of thing, like where I am right now, really, I would consider myself a total noob now. But if you want to get to where you're good, and that's what I used to be with Street Fighter 2. I used to be a good Street Fighter player. I was never great, I was never pro level, nothing like that. My buddy is, but not me. But I was good. I could go into the arcade, I could plunk in a quarter, and someone would come up and I could beat them, or they'll beat me, I'll put another quarter, but I give them a challenge, you know what I mean? Now, today, as you'll see with the Street Fighter 5 beta, I won't win a single round, I'm pretty sure. I'm going to get just totally obliterated. But that's okay. And that brings us to our next point. So once you can actually get your moves, you know, that you feel comfortable that you can get them out at a frequent pace, the next thing you have to sort of come to terms with is the fact that you are going to lose, and you're going to lose all the time. It's one of these genres where that's actually a good thing, because the only way to get better at fighting games is to play players that are better than you. And if you are a noob, and in my case I am, I haven't played Street Fighter 4 like at all. And going into Street Fighter V, yes, there's going to be all new mechanics and this and that, but I can't even throw out a fireball consecutively anymore. And so I know going in, I'm going to lose and 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 lose. And that's cool. That's absolutely cool. But you need to be able to recognize that. And once you do, and you accept, like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm losing because I still don't quite grasp, or maybe I still don't quite have the control over this particular character that I want. The other thing is, try and stick to a character that maybe that you're comfortable with, that the characters, their moveset is something you like. Maybe you like someone like Ken. A lot of these, circular motions. Maybe you want a charge character. What that is like you'll hold a button or you'll hold a position for a split second or two before you go into another move. Some people love that. I suck at that. I have never been able to use characters like that for whatever reason. All right, I mentioned about losing, and it's important and it's hard, okay? I'm not going to lie. Like, you will get frustrated. Be like, man, I suck. Like Killer Instinct, okay? I had such high hopes of really getting into that, and I just started getting into it and, like, winning online matches pretty consecutively. Like, I don't know, I could win, say, like, maybe 2 to 3 matches, and then I would get beaten, but then I could win the next 2 or 3, and then I'd get beaten, and sometimes I'd get beaten like 5 or 6 times in a row. But that's cool. The fact that you went from death, well, okay, not death, but, defeat, hey, I won, hey! And getting into that's the whole point of why I say that you just can't get frustrated. The minute you start getting frustrated, just walk away for a bit, and come back later on. I mentioned about the fact that you need to play against good players. I mean, that goes without saying. If it's, let's say your kids, like me and my brother, I was better at fighting games than my brother was. So I played him constantly, right? He improved his game. I didn't. I was just going to lower. No, I just sort of stayed the same. The only time where it really, like, got better was going to the arcade. Keep going to the arcade. Experiencing other players that were using techniques I didn't even know existed, and it forces you to get better at the game. And it's a time sink, guys. It really is. If you truly want to get good at a fighting game, you're going to be living in the training mode for the beginning of the game to, again, get those moves off so that you could do these fireballs, these dragon punches, things like that, consecutively until you're to the point where you're comfortable. Then you'll head into the AI mode or the story mode, or you'll head directly online. I'll be really honest, AI is really cheap as hell. Even like professional players and things like that, they can have a hard time with some of the boss characters because it's cheap. They know the inputs that you're going to, that you're inputting. And sometimes they'll just throw like fireballs so consecutively that you, as a human being, would never be able to do, just not as quick. And yes, of course, the best players will be able to get out of that. But it's like if you play a fighting game on the hardest difficulty, it's going to be hard, man. It's going to be damn hard because of often cheapness. But playing against a real-life opponent is really interesting because you feel it. You know that this isn't some AI. They're going to jump back, they're going to be punching, kicking, and they're going to be making mistakes like all over the damn place, and that's cool. So once you do feel comfortable, once you do have that sort of move set for the character that you really like, and you can pull off these moves fairly consecutively, you're not stressed when you're in the online environment or side by side with another player, and your frustration level, you get a control over that. The next thing is to learn some advanced combinations and techniques, and that might require some research, but thankfully today with the internet, it's cool. Like you can go from, for example, I don't know, I'm going to make it up. It won't be a real, I can't think of anything real right now. But let's say you went from like a medium kick. You can take a medium kick and then transform that into another move. This is combinations, right? So you could do, say, I don't know, like you could do a high, mid, low move. You could do a high, mid, low, or a high, mid, uppercut, or a low uppercut, things like that. All those different types of mumbo jumbos can all work for you. You just got to really practice, and do not expect to do this sort of stuff immediately. It's not going to happen. And you'll see it. Again, I wanted to do this video before I showed the beta content because I want to show you the newbies sort of perspective, so you will see exactly what I'm talking about right here, because I'm going to make all the mistakes, because in this beta it's strictly an online only mode, so I can't practice. I don't have the opportunity to do that. So I'm sort of practicing on the fly. So you're going to see very generic moves, very simple combo strings, maybe 3-hit combo strings, very, very, very simple stuff. And that's okay. That's perfectly cool. That's how you start. And then you'll learn that, hey, wait a second, if I like come in with, say, like a medium kick and I hit the guy in the head, I can actually turn that into another 3-hit combo, for example, or maybe a 4-hit combo or a 5-hit combo. And eventually that's how you learn to string all of these different attacks together, and before you know it, it'll all come natural. So the last thing I just wanted to touch upon very quickly, and guys, this is just a very simple beginner's guide to how to get decent at fighting games, or at least how to start on the right path to getting better at playing fighting games. So the last thing is, I just very briefly wanted to explain frames. You're going to hear this a lot. Now, I'm not going to go into all the explanation of frame data, or frame data, however you want to pronounce it, and how all that works. That I'm going to leave up to you, but I just want to explain how frames work. So, you've got two fighters, okay? These two fighters, every single move they do will take up a certain number of frames of animation. Let's take Street Fighter V. Street Fighter V is a 60 frames per second fighting game. That means every second there are 60 frames that are going on, that are happening. So for example, if I wanted to punch, okay, in fighting games, there's a standard language that there's the startup. So what does that mean? Well, this is a neutral position. The startup is this. That would be like the startup, say, maybe even to like that. Then the active is where I can actually hit the next player in their hitbox. The hitbox just says that in this character, this will be like, you can hit me here from a high punch. A mid punch will only hit me down here, and then a low punch will obviously be down below. Okay? But let's go back. I'm not going to talk about hitboxes now. That's a little bit more advanced, but just for frames, just a general explanation. So this would be my active frame, okay? So let's say from here all the way to there in the animation, that can hurt the other player depending on where they are, how they're standing, you know, whatever. And then there's the recovery, is the animation where I go back to my neutral stance. And that's it. That is the most basic explanation I can possibly give you for frames, how frames work. Now, I just told you that there were 60 frames per second. Sometimes this, the startup, may only be 4 frames. Think of that. If there's 60 in a second, 4 frames, boom. Do you realize how little that is? Like a blink of an eye is what this would be. It's like we're talking milliseconds here. And then the rest is, like, let's say it's boom, like that, right? So your startup was all of this, then you had your active, and then you had your recovery. Why this is important later on, and now I'm talking way advanced. It's still good to understand this as a beginner's guide for frames of animation, but where you can take advantage of this is when you do get good at fighting games. When you start to go a little bit beyond decent, you're getting into good, and you're understanding the core mechanics of how this works. I'm not telling you all to become math wizards or anything like that, but you will understand that if you see, as you're playing, remember, you're going to be playing for dozens of hours here, as you go, one move will take, say, I don't know, it'll have a startup of, let's say, 6 frames of animation. Typically the way it works is the lower the damage, the quicker the startup is. So let's say I was doing a I don't know, I was doing like a fierce punch or something like that, it's going to have a longer startup, right? And a longer recovery typically. So if I was standing directly, like I have two players here, right? Well, if this guy is going in and he's going in with, say, like a fierce punch, if you can see the animation, sometimes you don't even have time to react to the animation. Sometimes it's just, if you see that the opponent is typically using high kicks, high punches, which is very common. That's what most people, when they start playing fighting games, they'll use all the time. And that's how they get absolutely obliterated by people with a lot of experience. Because the people with a lot of experience will know that this, even though, yes, if it connects, if you actually, boom, hit the other player, you're going to take off a big, chunk of their energy or their health. But what they don't realize is that the startup for this punch is so long that this guy, if he sticks to mediums or low, he'll be able to hit this guy quicker, sooner. And that's where people don't understand. They're like, what the hell, man? I hit him. Not necessarily, because if you're in this motion and that guy has already got you, boom, right in the face, you're going to get hit. And then there's the whole concept of how blocking works and things like that. So here, some moves, if you have your two players, right, this guy connects, boom, hits this guy. Depending on which move it is, the frames of animation for this guy, he'll hit, and it's entirely possible that when this guy, boom, hits down, comes back to neutral, that it's the exact same frames as this guy's hit, and then him coming back to neutral. This guy, it's entirely possible that it's the exact same frames of animation. So for example, if I hit and it's 3 frames recovery, but this guy, if he is hit, has 3 frames recovery, it would mean essentially that it'd be, and they're both back. Meaning you cannot attack, there's no chance of attacking anytime in between that. Okay? Just as a very, very quick explanation of how this works. And that's it. I don't want to go beyond that. If anyone is interested, I can gladly actually do another video talking a little bit more about advanced techniques. And I hope you guys enjoy the Street Fighter V beta thoughts and impressions and whatnot. And I just thought this would be a fun little video to do for you on a beginner's guide at how to get good at fighting games. So please leave me a comment if you enjoyed, and that's pretty much it. I guess, as always, I'll see you all in the next video.